Good evening, everybody. This is Ivan Oberon, and you are tuning in to Bird Dog to Intern. And it is Thursday, February 6th. Man, it took me a little bit to actually be able to spit the words out. February. I'm still stuck in January. I can't believe that we already blew through the first month of the year. And thank you for joining me. We're going to be on this call. I'm going to take about 45 minutes to an hour of your time, depending on if there's any extensive Q&A or anything like that, and depending on how much you interact. And we'll keep it short, so I won't keep you guys for too long, so you can get to your dinners and all that stuff. Let me just do my typical housekeeping here on this webinar, because there are some new names and there are some brand new people here. I would recommend that you go to our website and or my YouTube and listen to last week's call, or you can listen to any of the previous calls as well by going to c2creia.com/podcasts, and then go down to the Bird Dog to Intern section, and you'll be able to listen to and download any of the previous ones. Also, you can see here on my screen, that's me, and I am Ivan Oberon. I don't know why I always use this particular profile, other than I just like the way it looks with the black and the blue and stuff like that. But if you go to YouTube, you can go to basically youtube.com/user/Ivan Oberon. And then right here, you'll see last week's Bird Dog to Intern call, which was recorded. And so you'll get the audio and some of the video screen sharing, which we don't do a whole lot. It's not like I take you through a PowerPoint or anything like that, but it's kind of cool to have anyway, for those of you who are a little bit more visual and want to watch a video. Otherwise, you can catch all the audio right there on the website. So for those of you who are brand new, this is the Bird Dog program that we put together. If you're not part of the Bird Dog program yet and you don't know really what it's all about, then you can go to c2crea.com/Bird Dog program, enter your information there, and you'll be able to get signed up with that. And sorry, I was switching screens. And hang on, I gotta Steve. Oh, I don't, Sean, quit distracting me, man. So anyway, if you go to c2crea.com/bird dog program, you'll get signed up. It'll kick you out the what's called the 10-minute task, which is essentially just the instructions on how you're going to source leads. So part of this program, what you'll learn is how to source leads online for free, more specifically for owner finance, contract for deed, rent to own, whatever you want to call it, lease purchase type of a strategy, where you'll be sourcing leads directly for potential sellers of their properties. Okay, and then once we contact the sellers, and as you go through the learning process, what you'll end up doing is forwarding the leads to me at mydeal@c2crea.com, and that way I can make the phone calls. We get the properties under contract, and the way it works is once we market the property and we find a buyer, you'll be able to then participate in the profits or get your bird dog, quote unquote bird dog fee, so that once we get paid, you guys get paid. Okay, where's the week before last recordings? Sean can't find it. Well, I don't know, Sean. They should all be on the on the website there on /podcast. Oh, you know what? No, the week before that I didn't record because it was my daughter's birthday and we were at Legoland, and I broke away from dinner, the birthday dinner with my family, to come out to the car and do this with you guys, because I'm committed to you guys. So I didn't record because even though it ended up going for a little bit over a half hour. I didn't really want to record that one because I knew it was going to be short, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to be real focused and give you guys a whole lot of attention. So I did not record that one, Sean. So thanks for noticing, though. All right. So what will end up happening is we get these properties under contract, and then we start marketing the properties on this website right here. The address is rentToOwn.it. And what this website is designed really is to attract buyers for these properties, because the properties become the bait for the buyers. The buyers are the ones with the money, so the buyers are the ones that really create the payday for us. So this is where we drive all of our buyers to, is this specific website. Of course, we do market the property all over the internet through Postlets and Craigslist, and of course it gets syndicated to Zillow and Trulia, and I mean hundreds of different websites out there that get put out there. We're also pinning all of our posts. We're blasting it out through social media and all those different things. And you guys can all get involved in the marketing of these properties by going to this website and clicking on listings. If you go on listings, then you'll get to see all the different properties that we have. Well, there's one that's one of my properties. Oh, well, guess what? There's another one of our properties. There's another one of our properties. So it's all of our investors and everybody that's doing this program will end up putting their properties up on here, and that's where will primarily drive traffic. Now, most people are finding the properties via some of the other internet websites, because, of course, those are much more well known. Zillow and Craigslist and all those other places are, of course, much more well known than a privately owned website like this. But you guys can drive all your people to this website. You can search by investor. So here's a bunch of the different people that have submitted properties. You can search by state, by property type, and of course, what you want to do is come on here, and you can select my name there, Ivan Oberon, and it'll pull up all the different properties that we have under contract. So some of you we're partnered with in many of these, and of course some of these I've gotten on my own through my own leads. But you can come on here and essentially click on any one of these and pin it or share it on your social media, on your LinkedIn, on your Twitter, on your Facebook, on Google Plus, and all the different areas. Because the more exposure we get, the faster we'll find a buyer, and the faster everybody gets paid. So that's how you guys can help. I get questions all the time. Well, what do we do now that the property's under contract? What can we do to market the property? What's our role in all these different things? Because people want to get involved, and people want to take more action. This is what you can do. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't do things that are going to be counterintuitive, because when you don't want to be posting your own Craigslist stuff. You don't want to be posting anything on Postlist or anything like that, because it's one, you're basically doubling the work, and two, all those websites will start flagging for double posting and all these different things. So what you do is you come to this website, and then you go directly to the different properties that we have under contract, and then you market those by directing people to this site specifically. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Then what's going to happen is buyers will come on here, and I mean, and this can work for any one of us as well. Okay, I don't presently qualify for conventional mortgage financing. I own the home that I'm in now, but eventually I'm gonna want to move, and I'm not going to be able to get qualified for conventional financing. I'm an entrepreneur. I had a career for over 10 years in insurance, but now I do this full time. So I've been doing this full time for less than 2 years. I was doing it basically in conjunction with my insurance career for a while before I went full time. But just by the virtue of the fact that I won't be able to provide 2 years of consistent quote unquote employment, that alone will kick me out from being able to qualify for conventional mortgage financing. So 90% of the population actually does not qualify for financing. So many people that you guys know, and this is something that I want you guys to be thinking about, especially as you get involved with this program. We start getting properties under contract. Most of the people that you know will not qualify for conventional financing. Now, there's going to be one in probably every 5 people that you know that's going to be moving sometime in the next 12 months. So those people are either going to remain renting a property, or, if they are, it's probably because they know they don't qualify. But if given the opportunity to be able to own their own home and basically receive the benefits of home ownership without having to go through a bank, that might interest them. and you want to talk to people about that and about the different things that you're doing, and the things that you're learning as you learn this program, as you learn basically what this is and how we do it. You want to talk about it because that's what's going to generate and create opportunities for you guys. Is the more people know about what you're doing, you come out from obscurity. And I talked last week about how serious you are about getting into this business. Now, this is real estate investing. We're focusing here on one strategy because when you do these calls, you want to have a focus, and when you're getting into the business, you want to have a focus before you really start to expand in a bunch of different areas. However, when you talk about becoming a real estate investor, you got to own that. You got to own that that's what you are and that's what you're going to be. And so you got to start talking about it. And I know that it can be scary, and I know there's a lot of naysayers, and you don't want people to say negative things about you or discourage you. But at least talk about who you're getting involved with, what you're getting involved in, and how you can help, because that's what's going to draw the opportunities to you. And even if you don't have any properties under contract, if you know somebody that is going to move that doesn't qualify, anything of that nature, that's why we have the custom home finder program, which you see right here. So if it's listings, if we don't have a property in inventory for somebody that wants a property, then the answer is the custom home finder program, because we're doing this in all 50 states. So it's impossible for us to have substantial inventory. Well, I don't want to say impossible, but we're not at the point where we have substantial inventory in every metro market. So there's going to be people that look, that say, hey, I want to live in this area, and you may not have a property under contract or available in that specific area. So what we do is we direct them to the custom home finder program. Now, what is the benefit of the custom home finder program? Let me take a drink and I'll tell you. The benefit and why it was created really was because even if somebody calls on one of our listings, 9 times out of 10, that property is not going to work for that person. The person's going to go take a look at it, and the wife is going to be like, well, I don't like this about it, or I don't like that about it, even though it looked good in the listing and it seemed like it was going to work for them. When this isn't a rental, okay? So the people that we're dealing with are people that are primarily going to be committed to buying from day one, because that's how we do it. We don't do lease options. What we do is a contract for deed that is in compliance with the IRS installment purchase contract guidelines. So it becomes a bona fide purchase from day one. So the benefit to the seller is the fact that they have somebody who's committed to buy the property right now. Okay, they're otherwise qualified. What does that mean? That means that their DTI, debt to income ratios, income, and that sort of thing is in line. They just don't qualify for mortgage financing. So they understand that they're buying the property, that there's no option to execute later on. They're already committed from day one. And those are the only type of people that we want to work with, because we want to set this thing up to be a win situation from the beginning. And most of those other programs, they're just not. And most of them don't end in a successful transaction, which is ultimately what we're going for. So these people are committed to buy from day one. And because it becomes a bona fide purchase, they get the benefit of some of the benefits of home ownership. One of them being the fact that they can deduct their monthly payments as mortgage interest every single month, which will give them a net increase in their take home pay. So that's a win for them. They of course, are going to take care of all the maintenance, the repairs, the utilities, the property taxes, all that kind of stuff is going to be included as part of the deal. But back to the home finder program, if we don't have a property that works for them, you don't want to just get rid of that potential lead. So with this, they can enter in all their criteria. They get their name, all their specifications, exactly how much they want to pay, what they specify what they have set aside for a down payment, how many bedrooms, baths, what areas, what school districts, what the square footage, the features, hardwood floors. I got to have a hardwood floor. I got to have a spa. All these different things that they're going to want in a specific area, and then they submit that to us, and then they get set up on what's called Basecamp, which is a place where they can basically bring properties, put properties into the system, and then we'll call on those properties and get them under contract so that they can then go out there and execute, look at that property, and start moving in. Now, what does this cost? Well, it doesn't cost them anything. It's just a deposit that goes towards their down payment, which they need to bring anyway. And we charge them the deposit just so that we know that they're serious and committed and they're going to be doing something now, so that all the work that we have to do to search for those properties and get them under contract and set up the viewings and all that stuff is not a waste of our time. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Let me pull up the question bar here to see if there's any questions. All right, looks like you guys have been busy, man. All right, what's okay, thank you, Mark. And is that a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, not a 2? Yes, I know. I thanks, Eric. See, we updated it to the 5-bedroom, and it was supposed to go to the 3-bedroom, but I noticed that now it's a 2-bedroom too. So, Regina, hello. Thank you, Eric. All right, thanks all you guys for being here. I really appreciate your time. I know that that I've been rambling on for a little while. If there's any questions that you guys have, any challenges that you have in for those of you who are already doing, the lead sourcing and forwarding them, and some of you are getting on the phones and so forth. We talked last week about bringing some of you guys up to being an intern. We talked about the property that Eric finally got under contract. All those different things that are going on. We have some big things coming. And let me explain to you one of the things, and this is kind of over some of your guys' head just because you're not plugged in yet. Forgive me, but part of what we do here is we're also dovetailed into the Virtual Real Estate Investment Association. So we're getting the properties under contract. We're building that program, and we're sourcing for leads that and resources that we can bring in. So one of the things that we're working on right now is hang on a second, Eric, I'll get to that question. Is building a relationship with a vertically integrated brokerage so that we can get the buyer leads coming in and be able to go, buyer direct, which is like we talked about just a minute ago. That's where the money's at. So our intention is to build and all of you guys up, or many of you guys up, into being not only interns, but being able to get your properties under contract, being able to be a closer and really perform. Because if we can get 15, 20 buyer leads in a week, Vincent and I are not going to be able to handle all those by ourselves. Okay, so we're grooming all of you guys. We're working you guys into this so that you can take a larger role and bigger part in all of that. Which is why we were not charging you guys. We see the benefit of training you and grooming you and how to source leads and do all that stuff for the benefit of the entire organization and every single person involved. Okay, that's really the payoff, by being able to get you guys competent to a level where you can bring in more and more and more and more deals and be able to handle more aspects of the situation, because that way we all benefit together. And that's really the the philosophy behind this whole thing. Okay, we want to be tour guides. We don't want to we don't want to be travel agents where we just tell you where to go and you should go there. We want to take you through and to the places that we've been and the places that we're going and show you the way, and that way we all benefit from the experience. I got a question from Eric. How can we get around realtors that are messing with my deals? All right, Eric, I'm not quite sure what that means, but if you want to clarify, I can answer that question for you. And realtors, they can be a resource, but by and large, they really are not. So don't waste your time with them. Any questions thus far, guys, about what we do, how you can get involved? Again, you can go to c2crea.com/bird dog program if you're not in the program yet. And if we're not connected on Facebook yet, that's the first thing that you guys really need to do. That way, any questions that you have, I can address. I can help you along the way. You can contact me and say, hey, I got this question. Not really sure how to handle it. All those different things. We want to make myself completely accessible to you guys. And if you're not part of the Virtual Real Estate Investment Association, that can also add you to that group, because there's a lot of value and a lot of things that we do in there, and a lot of new things that we're developing behind the scenes that they're going to help all of you guys be more successful. All right. So Eric's follow-up question: the realtors want their full fee; they don't want to negotiate. Yes, I understand that, Eric, which is why I've told you from day one: quit wasting your time calling properties that are listed with realtors. All right, because there is no negotiating with them. Okay, what you want to do is go for the buyer. You have to talk to. I'm sorry, go for the owner. You have to talk to the property owner, because they are the decision maker. So let me give you guys some criteria as far as when you're going on Craigslist and you're sending the emails and you're going on the different sites. The listings and the particular things that you're focusing on are going to be properties that are at least above $200,000 in value, or listed for rent for at least $2,000 or more in because that also kind of has a bearing on what the value of the property is. Okay, you're going to focus on metro areas, not rural areas, not areas in the middle of nowhere, not areas that have 30,000 people population, all that kind of thing. And there's a reason for that, guys. Okay, you deal with a much better quality and more qualified buyer in the higher priced homes. So 300,000 and above really is better, is ideal. I know some of you guys just want to go a little bit lower, but $300,000 and above is ideal. $2,000 a month and better is ideal, because those people are going to have a more of an owner mentality, not a career renter mentality. Those people are typically going to have more savings, more money. You're going to be able to afford a better house, and all that translates into less hand holding and babysitting, and also a bigger payday for all of you guys. Okay, just to give you an example, I have a property myself that I own, and one of several that I own in Indianapolis, and the property is worth $120,000. So I decided that I was going to put it for sale under this program. Now, I kid you not, I've had over 40 inquiries for people wanting to rent it. That's it. They just want to rent it. Even though the ad says specifically that it's an installment purchase contract, down payment required, no credit qualifying, owner financing. I've had two or three people actually call and say, "Oh yeah, well I'm interested," and then you get through the pre-qualification for those people, and it's like they have $500 saved for a down payment, or $1,000 saved for a down payment. Okay, that's just what you run into. And I'm not stereotyping or anything like that. That is just what you find in those lower end properties. You have people that are not otherwise qualified. Okay, we want people that are otherwise qualified, credit excluded, current situation excluded. We want them to be qualified, which means they have to have the financial wherewithal to get into a property and also be able to afford the monthly payments. Okay, and then and it's very, very difficult to find those people in those lower priced homes, and believe me, we do not want to be wasting our time or dealing with people that have $2,000 down. Okay, we're tied to these people for at least 2 years. We're working to get them qualified for conventional mortgage financing, and if anything happens in the meantime, if there's a default, if there's anything else, we're the ones that are involved. Okay, you guys don't have to deal with that, but we do. Okay. Let's see. Next question. Hey, nothing wrong with realtors. Yes, Sean, we know. Okay. You are an exception, buddy. You are an awesome. You're an amazing. You get it. And by the way, you're plugged into a brokerage, so you guys see people. Here's your homework, Sean. Okay, you're gonna be dealing with lenders and mortgage brokers and all those different things within your brokerage. So I know you probably don't work for one that's vertically integrated, but that's how you can get deals, bro. Okay, that's how you can get deals, is deal with people who are lenders, the brokers, mortgage brokers, because they're gonna get their declines. They're gonna get their people that don't qualify, but they've been through underwriting and they qualified based on DTI and income and everything else. So those are the guys that we gotta have a relationship with, and that's where you can source some good leads because you have the in. All right. Another question. Okay, no, that was a statement. That was kind of an in for me. Anyone got a $10 million property yet? No, Mark, not yet. For those of you who are new and don't know, I put a challenge out there. And I said the first person that brings me an interested lead on a $10 million property is going to win a special prize. All right, and no, we haven't gone there yet. Okay, and they're just zeros, guys. Okay, don't be too don't get too excited, or not excited, but don't get freaked out or worried about those higher end properties. They're just zeros. Now they are more challenging, and that's why there's going to be a special prize, because when you start getting into the 4, 5, 6, 7, $8 million properties, most of those are handled. There's usually an intermediary, and so the challenge is getting directly to those owners. But imagine this. Okay, let me put this into perspective for you guys. If we had a $10 million property under contract for this specific program, okay, that technically qualifies as super jumbo. Okay, so the payday for all of us on that particular thing would be $3 million. Right now, if we had to split that three ways, I think you'd all be okay, right? So just keep that in mind. I mean, this you can make a lot of money real quick on on some of these deals. So, all right, next comment. I think the more you do it, you start to see keywords in the ads that will kind of tip you off to that they are not an owner. Very good point. Absolutely. Good for you, Regina. Kudos. And I mean that honestly, because please read the ads. Click on the link, read the ad, read all of it. Sometimes they'll have their MLS number, their MRE number on there for the fact that they are licensed. Now, a lot of them don't disclose the fact that they're realtors, even though they're supposed to, because they've gotten the fact that some people won't reach out to them because they don't want to deal with realtors, because a lot of them are not as awesome and amazing and effective and competent as Sean. A lot of them are lazy and incompetent. So, and deal killers. Okay, so absolutely read the ads. And if it's like a really fancy ad and it's got all these pictures, in a fancy way, and unlike most of the ones that you see, probably going to be listed by an agent. Okay, and the wording and the different things, and schedule a viewing, click here, and all that stuff, like more than likely it's going to be an agent that's listing that property. Okay, very good point. Another comment. I had a seller ask me today about the final contract when we find a buyer. He asked how it is structured to get someone out of the house who defaults. How is the contract set up for this scenario? Very good question, Michael, and I will address it right now. Try to take a drink. So, even though the contracts that we use essentially have a bear trap in them, not in a negative way, in a good way, because everything this is transparent and disclosed, that they are committed to buy the property now. Okay, so there's no option to take later on, whatever. But what if they default? Does life happen to people? Could people lose their job? Could people get disabled in a car accident? Could there be a death in the family of a breadwinner? Of course, all those things, any of those things could happen. But what protections do we have in the contract? One of the things that we have is a triggering clause effect that in the event of a default or material breach of the contract for any reason, the seller has the option to execute that clause and convert it back to a straight tenancy agreement, in which case they can then proceed with a dispossessory action instead of having to go through a judicial foreclosure. So that's one thing that'll come up when you start telling people that it's an installment purchase contract and all these different things. Now they're getting, okay, well, now how do I get stuck, because I had my buddy and he did this and that, and he had to go through a foreclosure and he's still going through it, blah blah blah. Of course, an eviction in most cases is going to be much easier than a foreclosure. So that's why we put that triggering clause effect in the contract, so that it converts it back to a straight tenancy agreement. And depending on the state that you're in, that can be a very easy process, because some states are very landlord friendly, and I mean within 2 weeks the sheriffs are at your door and you're gone. So that's how you answer that question, or that's how you address that particular concern or objection, Michael. And let me know if that got it for you. Yes, Sean is the man. See, I'm not the only one that thinks so. If you guys don't know Sean, you guys should hook up with him. He's out in Arizona. If you guys want to do deals out there, he's the guy to talk to. Let's see. What do you think are the best times to call people? The answer to that is yes. Call people. That's the answer to that. Okay. People, and we didn't talk about this on the radio show today, but and by the way, for those of you who don't know, we also do a radio show 5 days a week on Bloomberg Radio. You can stream it live from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. That's Pacific time. If you go to cdcria.com/AM1510, you can listen in. It's a very dynamic real estate investing radio show. We connect you with all kinds of resources from all over the nation, from professionals and everything else. Then, of course, you get to see me make fun of Pete, and that's always fun. But the best times to call people are during the day. Okay, I don't call people before 8 o'clock typically, and I stop calling people by 8 o'clock. Um, just for respect and all those different things. And so when you're sourcing leads, since we're doing this all over the country, just be mindful of the time zone. And I run into this too because I get busy with so many different things, and I have rehab projects that I have going on. I have the radio show. I have a project that I'm setting up in Atlanta. I have other things that I'm doing in Kansas City. We're developing an online video game. We're doing all these different things. I'm calling sellers. I'm calling all of your guys' leads. I'm calling buyers. And so by the time I get to some of the leads and I look at them and it's 5:30 my time, that's still okay. But then that means it's 8:30 on the East Coast, and I really don't want to call anybody at around 8:30 unless they ask me to or they request that I call them. I'm not going to cold call somebody at 8:30 at night because that typically won't go well. So the best times to call people are typically during normal business hours, regardless of what part of the country that you're in. Just figure out what time zone you're in. Normal business hours up to about 7 8 p.m. Okay. Now, people have dinner at different times. So, one of the things that you always want to do if you are going to call people, and if you do call people, you have to qualify, okay, up front. And take this for those of you who are brand new, who you're not quite there yet to making calls, and you still have a lot to learn. You don't know how you're going to answer questions, all these different things. That's fine. But for those of you who are starting to make calls and you want to get the ball down the road, even if you just warm that lead up a little bit, and then you do what we call the turnover in sales, you qualify them and you let them know why you're calling. Hi, my name is Ivan. Oh, my name is Ivan. I'm calling regarding this property that you have available on Craigslist. Blah blah blah. Then you just be quiet. And then they'll respond and be, oh yeah, how can I help you? Such and such a thing. I understand that the property is for rent or for sale. Would you be open to an owner finance or lease purchase type of deal on the property? And they answer your question. And one of the things that you always want to get in there is, did I catch you at a good time? Because it doesn't matter if it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 9 or 7 in the morning. It might be a good time for them. So if they say yes, it's a good time, now that does two things for you. One, it prevents you from wasting your time because you start going into the spiel and that you don't even have their attention because they're distracted. They're on their way to a meeting. They're about to come into a meeting. They're about to go out of a meeting. They just came out of the shower. Whatever it is, believe me, I've run into all kinds of scenarios. When you ask them, did I catch you at a good time? and they give you an answer, this does two things for you. If they say yes, this is a good time, subconsciously, now you have captured their attention. They just told you yes, it's a good time, and they are about to give you their full attention. If they tell you, well, you know what, I actually, and I've had this happen to me many times. Well, you know, actually, or when they've called me, I've even asked them, "This is a good time for you," and they say, "Well, I thought I was going to get a voicemail, so actually, I'm on my way to this and that. Can we talk later?" And so that prevents you from wasting time on the phone. And the more you do this, and the more you start making calls, the more and more you have to value your time and cause other people to value your time, because that's all you have. You can't get that back. Okay, so hopefully that's a long-winded way to answer your question. Call them during business hours, up to 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Seven's probably the good cutoff. On Sundays, I would probably bring that between more like 10 a.m. and like 5 p.m. just because people do different things on Sundays, and they like to be more one on one with their families. So, all right. Next question: is that with or without syndication? What Clarify that for me, Brian. I'm not sure what you mean. We don't syndicate funds. We don't syndicate anything because we don't ever handle money until we get paid. So it's not like rehab projects where you need investor funds and private money and those things to do those projects. We can talk about that as well. Every single one of my projects that I've ever done has been 100% cash. So if you want to know how to do that, I can teach you that too. All right. How can I join the virtual real estate group? Walter, the first thing that you need to do is go to Facebook and add me as a friend, Ivan Oberon. It's actually facebook.com/ Uber Ivan. Um, and don't ask me how it ended up being that. I wish it was just Ivan Oberon, but it's not. So find me on there and let me see. You know what? I might be able to actually send this to all of you. All right, hang on. For those of you listening to the podcast, I am simply going onto my Facebook account. I'm going to send a link. So facebook.com/Ivan Oberon. And there I am again. That's a picture of my family, my beautiful wife, my parents to the left hand side, my in laws to my right hand side. My father in law unfortunately passed away from cancer in the middle of last year, and we miss him. But that's my profile picture, of course, is my character in the game. But all right, so let me bring up this here, and let me know if you guys got that. Okay, so that's how you can add me as a friend. And then once you add me as a friend, just send me a quick message. How do I become part of the virtual real estate investment group? And then I will go in there and add you to the group. Okay, that's the easiest and best way to do it because it's a private group, so you can't find it yourself and so forth. So you have to be invited to it. So just go on there, and then of course I also have a separate page strictly for my bird dogs and for the people that start sending me leads. I find those names, and then as long as you have friended me already on Facebook, then I will add you to that particular um, page as well, which is a secret page. And you get all the updates on the different things and the deals that are happening and the properties that we get under contract from specifically from your leads. Okay, that's why I created a separate secret group, because that's only for people that have sent me leads and any activity that happens with your leads specifically. In the real estate and the virtual real estate investment group, there's a lot of other learning, a lot of other collaborating, but there's also other people that are just sourcing deals and everything themselves. They get posted up on there. Okay. All right. Let's see. So, at what point do they lose their down payment and they can't sue us back for it back? Question from Eric. What point do they lose their down payment? Not quite sure I understand the question. They don't ever lose their down payment. Now, if they default and they walk away and they don't follow through with their end of the agreement, then they themselves are losing it. Okay, the down payment is non-refundable. The monthly payments are non-refundable. They're interest only. They're non-refundable. They're mortgage payments. I mean, good luck getting your payments back from your mortgage company, right? They're non-refundable. You put a down payment on a house. I mean, think about it. Just because we're dealing with people and not a Wells Fargo, it doesn't change the fact that it's still a purchase contract. So I put a down payment on my house of $30,000, and a year later I stop making payments, and they decide they're going to foreclose on me and take my house. Do you think I can go back and sue the bank for my $30,000? No. I'm lucky that they don't come after me for all the payments that I missed. And that leads me to a very interesting story. Okay, you run into all kinds of cool and interesting scenarios sometimes. I dealt with this lady that had a house right on the beach in New Jersey. Okay, it was like a $2 million house, completely not the type of house that I would ever live in. It was literally right on the beach. Like I'd be afraid that I was going to get washed away. She'd been living in that property for over 2 years, rent, mortgage free. She stopped paying her mortgage. She was $300,000 behind, and her bank still hadn't called the note. There was no mention of foreclosure or anything else because there she is. Nobody wants that property. And granted, there's movie stars and different people, living, down the beach and in different places. But there she is taking care of the property for them, and that's what they want. She's taking care of the property for them. So anyway, it was the craziest thing. She was one of those ladies that will literally talk your ear off for hours and hours and hours if you let her for whatever reason. But no, man, you gotta think critically here and understand the fact that the buyer, when they're coming in, they're taking the position of owner, and the seller or owner are taking the position of mortgagee. Okay, and that's one of the other benefits that we can add to these people. With my insurance background, I made it so that essentially they get added as mortgagee and additional interest to the homeowner's insurance policy that the buyer has to take out, and then they get indemnified by an insurance company because they are in fact a mortgagee. So no, they can't come back and sue us for their down payment because it's not us. Okay, that's the other thing you guys have to understand. The contract is specifically and strictly and solely between the buyer and the seller. We're out. We just facilitate the transaction up front and then babysit it, but we're out. The payments go directly from the buyer to the seller. Everything is between the buyer and the seller. All the contracts are between the buyer and the seller. We don't participate in any of that. All right. Call on Saturdays and Sundays too? Absolutely. Absolutely. Saturdays, normal thing. Business hours. Sundays, like I said already, maybe you want to call a little bit later and stop calling a little bit earlier. Okay. Another question. So if the seller reverts back to a rental agreement and the buyer then still does not pay the rent, does eviction laws then apply as a renter, or does a foreclosure procedures? I got a similar question tonight. The seller I spoke to said the lawyer told him to have 2 contracts to be able to evict sooner. All right, now I'm not sure if this question came in after I already answered it, but when the buyer defaults, or if a buyer defaults and you exercise that clause and it converts back to a straight tenancy agreement, then all you have to do is proceed with a dispossessory action. Now, that's just a fancy way of saying an eviction, because currently the buyer, tenant, whatever you want to call them, occupant, they possess the property. They are in the property. So you have to commence with a dispossessory action, which is all that is an eviction. Okay, so there is no foreclosure proceedings at that point. Yes, Sean does still rule, doesn't he? He does. All right, $10 million deal. That was just a comment by Brian, and I'm pretty sure he meant it the way I just said it. Okay, so if another question, so if again, if the market tanks big time and the seller can't get the floor price along with the extended process if the market doesn't come back. Now, so here's the deal. All right, when you put these contracts together and you set the purchase price as future appraised value, because this is a question that comes up, right? Well, I don't know what my house is going to be worth in 2 years. It's fine. You don't have to know. Okay, and that's one of the things that you guys have to understand is if you don't make a big deal out of XYZ, whatever it is, right? If you don't make a big deal out of whether or not they get a down payment, they won't make a big deal out of it. If you don't make a big deal out of the purchase price, they're not going to make a big deal out of the purchase price. And talking about purchase price and making a big deal out of it is a waste of time because it's just semantics. Okay, the market will dictate. If you're setting the purchase price as future appraised value, that means they're going to get the fair market value of their property, or otherwise known as full price, by the time they sell the property, or by the time the cash out takes place. Now, it doesn't have to be 2 years. If they get qualified in a year, they can do it in a year. It doesn't matter. There's no prepayment penalty. There's no you have to wait X amount of time to do it. It doesn't matter. Okay, we just typically ride them for 24 months to make sure that they have enough time to get qualified. But so if the market tanks, something happens, and the house does not appraise, and it doesn't appraise for at least their floor price. And if you guys don't understand what a floor price means, it means the price at which we will not go below. Okay, so if we set, purchase price, future appraised value, and a floor of $850,000, the property appraises for $845,000. Now that's below our floor price. So contractually, the seller does not have to proceed with that sale if they don't want to. Now, if I'm the seller and I've been collecting $5,000 a month, interest only, for 2 years, and my mortgage is $4,000 a month, so I'm cash flowing $1,000 a month. I just made $24,000 above and beyond my purchase price, right? You guys follow? And my property appraises $10,000 below my floor price. Now, might I be okay with saying, oh, you know what, that's okay, we'll go ahead and sell anyway? Yeah, we got way more than what we wanted. And the ultimate thing that these people want anyway, the only reason they enter into these contracts anyway is because they do want to sell their property. So they're not going to want to extend it, do an automatic extension on that contract, which of course is their option until the market hopefully appreciates. In most cases, I suppose. You know what I mean? They'll say, okay, we'll sell for the 845, no problem. Now, if they don't want to do that, then of course they can do the automatic extension, or the buyer can bring extra money to the table. They can bring an extra $5,000. If at that point the buyer is more motivated and they say, you know what, I want out. I want to quit dealing with you. I want to get my own mortgage. I want some of my payments to start going towards the principal. Whatever it is that they might be motivated under, that they can do that. So, but the thing to remember, especially when you're talking to a seller, is that all the options lay with them. You just got to present it to them that way. Everything's a win for them. Everything's good. There's always a way to answer the questions in a way that makes sense to them and in a way that is most beneficial to them. Of course, once you have somebody on the line that's open to what it is that you're talking about, right? All right, Alifa or Alefa, you're all smiles. I love it. I'm talking about the possibility of $100,000 difference. Well, I suppose that could happen. Are you seeing a bubble in the near future? I don't. We're not, or the bubble bursting in the near future? I don't. We haven't appreciated that much yet. Okay. California, sure, we've appreciated more than probably in any other state. I'd say in the last 2 years we've appreciated somewhere in the neighborhood of 16%, but we're nowhere near where we were in 2006, 2007. So I don't see $100,000 crash happening. And if the market does tank at $100,000, yeah, no, they don't have to sell. And I'm sure both parties would understand and be like, oh man, what's happening here? It'd be like most of us. Okay, little uh fact that's not commonly known. I bought my house in 2007. What does that tell you? Okay, most people would cry if they, well, maybe not. I don't know. I think some people would. I mean, I'm like $250,000 upside down in my property. Now, do I worry about it? No, I don't care. I'm not looking to sell it for a profit. I'm not looking to flip it. I'm not looking to do any of these other things. I'm $250,000 upside down. Big deal. Eventually, the next time I buy, I guarantee you, I'm not using conventional lender though, because now I know better. So all of you who don't own a property and want to be first-time homeowners, you got to talk to me, okay? Because there's a better way and a much more educated way to buy a property than by going through a bank. All right. Yes, Eric, you want to make the webinar interesting. I understand. Hey man, why don't you say, hey, what if it gets $1 million upside down? What if the property is worth $500,000 and it goes negative $500,000 below zero? If you want to do that, you want to make it interesting. Yeah, no, man. Let's keep within the realm of reality here. All right. Excuse me, guys. I gotta take a drink. All right. Sorry about that. Man, sometimes it seems like I talk all day and talk and talk and talk, especially on Thursdays. All right. So, any other questions? What are you guys struggling with? Some of you are brand new to this. Some of you have day jobs. Many of you have day jobs. We we call the action takers part of the NFL club, right? Because it's not for long. For those of you who take action, those of you who are committed, it is not for long. You will not be part of that slave job for long. And I had, I have an affinity to the newbie. I have an affinity to people starting out and struggling and have all these different things, because I will never get to the point where I forget where I came from. And I was in a full time insurance career for over 10 years. I had some specific pain that I needed to get away from. And it's not that I wasn't making money, guys. Okay, I mean the most I ever made in my insurance business was $18,000 in a month, and for some of you that might seem crazy. So it's not that I wasn't making money. I had some pain, that I was involved with, that I needed out of that business, and I didn't want to go from insurance to a different agency to a different place. I just needed something different. And since I was 17 years old, I knew there was something special about real estate. I knew I needed to get involved with real estate. I knew that the majority, well, anybody who has any level of true wealth in this world has done so either by real estate specifically, or has incorporated real estate into their strategy and into their portfolio. So real estate will always be a viable strategy, and it's not the only one. Okay, you gotta watch the wealth cycles and follow the wealth cycles. Okay, and that's the way it goes. There's a cycle for real estate, and then it crashes. There's a cycle for precious metals, and then it crashes. There's a cycle for stocks, and then it crashes. You guys get what I'm saying? Okay, and right now, I've been buying precious metals. because I believe that they're going to go up, and eventually, probably 5, 6, 7 years from now, I'll be able to buy 4, 5, 6, 7 times the amount of real estate value today for the amount of money that I'm spending in precious metals. So you have to diversify and know the different things that are out there. But the point is, I needed out. And so I started my education, and I was working basically two full-time jobs. Okay, I was going to the office 5 days a week, and then I'd work, and then I'd work out, and I'd be working to build and learn and grow and everything in my real estate business till sometimes one o'clock in the morning, because that's just what it takes. Okay, and there's four things that you need to be successful in real estate. One is time. If you don't have the time, if you don't want to make the time, if you're not at a point where you can make some sacrifices and are willing to make some sacrifices, because the only way that you gain more time in your day is by sacrificing other things that are sucking your time. Okay, and time is the one commodity that you can't ever get back, which is why it's your most precious commodity. Okay, so you're gonna need time, and if you're not ready to dedicate that time, I appreciate you guys being on this call, but if you're not ready to dedicate that time on a regular, consistent basis, then you better take a good look in the mirror, because you're not going to get anywhere. Okay. Time. The other thing, of course, is knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge, you need to get it. That's why you're on this call, and whatever it takes to get it. Some of you have spent considerable amounts of money already getting knowledge, including myself. And even though we make all these things available for free for you guys, we just ask that you invest your time and your effort into it. Okay, at the very least. But if you're not going to put money into it, I would recommend, and I would strongly suggest, and maybe I need to do a webinar on proper money management, and show you guys how you set up a budget and multiple accounts, so that you're always setting money in an education account. Okay, because investing in yourself and in your education in whatever line of business that you're choosing, which I'm going to presume that we're all choosing real estate investing, it's crucial to your success. Some of the most successful people I know spend six figures a year in education, seminars, networking retreats, all those different things. Again, now granted, they make seven figures, mid to high seven figures. But I guarantee you they got that. They got there by investing in their education on a regular basis. And I don't mean go spend $50,000 with Armando Montalongo. Okay, I'm talking about consistent daily, routine education in various different forms. And of course, we provide some of that education free and of charge. But we want to create a way to help everybody, those with and without money. So invest in your knowledge, because without knowledge, you don't get anywhere. You can't speak confidently to investors. You can't speak confidently to sellers or buyers or any of that stuff. Okay. So anyway, um, what else was I talking about? Money and credit. I won't spend too much time on those, because we're not focusing on money strategy, but it doesn't have to be your own money. Okay. I've invested very little of my own money by comparison. Okay. I've invested millions of dollars, and by comparison, I've invested very little of my own money, you know, just in the thousands of my own money. So it granted, it's still a lot of money, it's tens of thousands of dollars, but when you compare that to millions of dollars, it's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. So you guys have to, you need money to be successful, and you need credit. And if you don't have credit, that's okay. But just understand, you don't need to use your own credit. But once you develop your business, and once you start having your entities, and once you want to take things to the next level, it's all about understanding how you leverage your personal credit against business lines of credit, so that everything that you do is through your business lines and it doesn't affect your personal credit. So it's all about, and that ties into education and how do you know those things and all that different things. And I know I'm getting a little bit off topic. There's so much that I can teach you guys, but that's not the subject here. I'm just saying I commend you, and I'm glad. I'm always happy to have newbies on here. which is why I'm glad you said that, Brian, because a lot of times those newbies are the ones that are hungry and they're ready to make a change, and they're looking for something different. And one thing that we are is different, okay? Because we will not settle for average, and none of you want to settle for average. Okay, everybody out there is average, and average should be a dirty word. Okay, that's what society wants you to become. That's what the man wants you to become. That's what the government wants you to be. To be is just a worker drone that believes that the retirement, 401ks, and Social Security is going to take care of them. And it's the entrepreneur that is the backbone of this country, and yet we're the ones that are that are spit on the most by the government and everything else, and it's for a reason. Okay, you guys don't understand that. All right, let's see. We got another comment from man. I'm not even sure where I was going with all that, so I'm sorry. I know I was going somewhere, so hopefully I made a point. I find it interesting that Pete says P is talking. Wait, I don't understand this question. He's always saying, "Oh, he always wants to steal my thunder." Of course he does. Pete just wants. Pete's one of those guys that's awesome and loves people and wants to help people and has the biggest heart, and he just needs a little pat on the back every once in a while, and he invented Sean Schnur. He actually created him in a lab, just like so many other things. Um, all right, so that's an inside joke. Sorry. Another question. Yes, building rapport. Thank you for bringing that up. So for those of you who are starting to make phone calls, building rapport is big. Okay, we have scripts, we have information. Those of you who have decided to step up and move from bird dog to intern and want more one-on-one personalized training with me, which by the way, that's not $10,000. It's actually $0 also. It just takes a little bit more commitment and for you to step out of your comfort zone. We'll give you all these different things, and part of the problem that people run into, especially in the beginning, because they're nervous, is they run through these scripts and they talk and they just kind of rattle through it and all these different things, and they got to get through it as fast as possible so they can make sure that they say everything and get everything in there, and they forget to actually have a conversation and build the rapport. And that's crucial. Okay, rapport building is crucial. It's sales 101. Transfer of enthusiasm is crucial. The belief in what it is that you're doing and talking about and quote unquote selling is crucial in your success. And whether you want to believe it or not, everything in life is selling. You're either being sold something or you're selling something. It doesn't matter. Every time you have a conversation with somebody, you're being sold something or you're selling something, whether it's your spouse or your child or your teacher or mentor or student or whoever. All right. And that's just the way it is. So you have to understand how that works. And if you haven't read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I cannot recommend it enough. I go through that thing probably 2 or 3 times a year, and it's always a great refresher. And I put it to test. I mean, put it to the test. When we went to our trip in Texas, I put it to the test on the plane both ways and with people, and it just stuff works, man. It just works. It's just dealing with people. All right. Never heard that one before. I'm not sure what that is. Eric, what are you talking about, Eric? Maybe I should unmute you. Um, One of the things that I did say in the on our radio show today, and I don't want this to sound like a cliche, okay? Because everybody hears this. The problem is that most people don't apply it. Okay, and it's action. It all comes down to your actions. There's no such thing as an overnight success. There's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. There's no such, I mean, in my opinion, okay, every person that you see that's getting success, it's all an aggregate of their daily consistent actions over an extended period of time, sometimes years. Okay, your so-called overnight success, they've been at it for 5, 10 years. Okay, and just nobody saw that stuff. All of a sudden, they just show up on the scene, and you're like, oh man, they're an overnight success, or oh man, this guy, all he's got to do is whatever, and he's born with a silver platter. All this nonsense that people make excuses for themselves to make themselves feel better because they are not at that level. Okay, so there's no such thing as that. And what I said today is sometimes people will say, oh well, he's just so lucky, or he got lucky, or like all these different things. And what I said earlier was, the more action I take, the luckier I get. That's the reality. That's the way it works. Okay, the more action you take, the luckier you will get. You make your own luck. Okay, luck is just preparation meeting opportunity. The more action you take, the luckier you will get with leads, with contracts, with whatever it is that you're talking about. Um, all right. Oh, NFL not for long. Yes, yes. Well, I can't take credit for that one. Vincent came up with that one himself. I'm just a proud member of the NFL, former NFL. All right. So getting to the next comment here. At what point do you hang up and hand over the lead? Okay, so that's a good question. So some people will throw away leads because they don't understand the concept of the turnover. The turnover is a very powerful, powerful sales technique. Now, if you have never worked sales in your life, if you have no sales training, if you don't know the first thing about sales, I would recommend that you start learning. I would recommend that you listen to things from Grant Cardone, from Brian Tracy, from Les Brown. Um, I mean, just get educated by people who just excel and are awesome in their field. Okay, so the turnover, so that you don't just lose a deal or lose a lead. If a conversation isn't going well, you'll know it. And if you think that there's no interest, then of course just let it go. But if the people are still coming up with objections, and by the way, objections in most cases are signs of interest. Okay, they're buying signals. If you get absolutely no objection from somebody, then it means that they're not really all that interested anyway. But an objection is a buying signal in disguise. You just got to be able to see through it. Okay, so when people are giving you objections and you don't know the answer, the worst thing that you can do is try to pull something out of the hat. Don't make stuff up. Don't lie. Don't ever, 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 ever. Okay, am I sounding like a broken record yet? Don't ever lie. Okay, always be honest, because the last thing you want is for that lie to come back to you, or for them to call your bluff. You validate their question and you say, that's a very good question. You know what? I've not run into that before. Why don't we get my partner Ivan on the phone and call me? See if I'm available, or schedule a call back. Let's reconvene. We'll get my partner Ivan on the phone. He can answer that for you. What other questions do you have? And drive the conversation forward. Okay. Do not let the tail wag the dog. You need to be in control of that conversation. And I don't mean that you have to be rude or mean or anything like that. You just have to direct it. You have to ask the right questions, and you lead the conversation. Don't let the tail wag the dog. And then you set up the conversation. You talk to me. You message me on Facebook. You say, hey, can we talk? This is the situation. Can we call this guy back? And then I'll be more than happy to do that and give you that call back. Now, don't throw me into a situation where you got somebody that's just completely turned off and doesn't want to do anything and waste my time. But if he still wants more information and you just couldn't answer some of the questions that person had, then let's do it. So you don't necessarily just hand it over. Okay, if you've taken the time to have a conversation and you want to be more involved with it so that you learn, then just tell me. Tell me the situation, tell me what happened, explain it to me, so that I know that you've taken the time and that you're not wasting mine. And I'd be more than happy to get on that call with you, because again, it benefits both of us. If I don't get paid, you don't get paid. If you're not getting paid, it means I'm not getting paid. Okay, I'm not doing this just for myself. All right, I want to help people. Moving forward by giving back. That was our original tagline. Moving forward by giving back. Add value to others first before you before you can find value yourself. That's just the way it works. All right. Next comment. Thank you for that, Alefa. By doing the calling and then coming to this webinar, I find it is much easier to answer sellers' questions. Thank you, Michael. And that's what this is about. So, for those of you who are not making phone calls yet, don't worry, don't feel bad. It's a process. You won't get there right away or overnight, or you know what I mean. You're in a good group. We all started somewhere, okay? But anything worth doing is worth failing at, and that's a concept that you have to understand. Many people won't make a phone call even though they know all the information. They've been around for a while. They've been provided all the material, all the information. They know it well enough. Now, I have a saying that says, if you haven't lived it, you don't know it. And that's true. If you haven't lived it, you don't really know it. But the key here is to leverage off of other people's experience, other people's networks, and other people's expertise. Every single successful person has done that. That's why they, the experts and the ultra successful and the you know um, man, why am I having a hard time here? The Richard Bransons of the world and everything. I mean, that's why they have ghostwriters. That's why they write books. That's why they do biographies and autobiographies on those guys. Because if you want to be successful, you have to study the habits of successful people. It's not rocket science. You just have to know what it is that they do and how they did it. And yeah, granted, maybe some of them were bigger visionaries than any of us will ever be, and so forth. But still, they have led, the path to a level of success. So there's certain things that every successful person does. It doesn't mean you have to follow all of them, but there are certain habits that each successful person has. For example, I'm a big proponent of writing down your goals on a daily basis. 97% of the population does not do that. The other 3% that do control 97% of the wealth in this world. It's a crazy statistic, but it's true. And it makes you go, maybe I should start doing this. Maybe I need to start taking this action. Maybe I need to start, creating this habit. Same thing with reading. Leaders are readers. Leaders are readers. You want to be a leader in your industry? You want to be a leader in what you do? Read. I was never a good reader in school. It never interested me very much. But when I started seeing what other successful people do, and the fact that the top 1% of income earners in this world read 60 books a year, that told me something. That told me I better do something about that, right? The top 1% who controlled 99% of the wealth read 60 books a year. There's something to be said about that. Okay. So if you're not reading, read. And I don't mean read for escapism. Okay. Read for education, motivation, and inspiration. Read. All right. Let's see. Thank you, Michael. Yes, and it's repetition. So you're making the calls, and my recommendation is that you fail fast and you fail forward, and that you be okay with failure. One of my favorite stories was about Edison. He was interviewed one time, and they asked him, "How does it feel to have failed 10,000 times before you invented the light bulb?" And Edison said, "I never failed. I successfully discovered 10,000 ways that did not work." So it's all about perspective. It's all about how you approach things. It's all about your mental state, okay, which is one of the reasons that we have GoMakeSomethingHappen.com, where you can get your wristband. And if you're around me, you better be careful, okay? So in your wristband, go to GoMakeSomethingHappen.com, and there's only so much room on a wristband, so we put 3 words that are commonly used that are self-deprecating words, that are defeating words, like using the word should, try, and can't. When you say you should do something, again, you're giving yourself a way out. So if you say the word should, you change that to the word must. When you say the word try, you know what? I'll try to be there by 6. You're not going to be there by 6. Okay, you're lucky if you're going to get there by 7. All right. So no, you don't say you're going to try to do anything. Just like Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try, right? You know this stuff. It's not rocket science. You've heard it before. Can't equals will. You don't ever say you can't do something. And please don't ever say, you know what, I'm not going to do something because I can't afford it. Ever. Change the way you think. Change the way you speak. Your words have power and an impact in your life and the lives of those around you. Don't ever say can't, especially when it comes to money, because that's what will hold you back. I mean, I'm not gonna ask or anything, but I would wager that there's at least a handful of you on this call tonight that have never made more than $70,000 in your lives a year. And that, I'm going to venture also to say, is because there's a part of you that thinks you can't, that tells yourself that you can't. That's the whole purpose of this wristband. Okay, we got stickers, we got keychains. I like the wristband the best because you can hurt yourself and other people. So when you say those things or you catch yourself saying those things, here's what you do. I'm just going to do this for illustration purposes. I always wear mine. You snap it, okay? Then you start associating pain, and you snap it on the inside of your wrist because the outside of your wrist doesn't hurt that bad. The inside is the fleshy part. You snap it because then you start associating pain with the words like can't and try and won't and should and all that stuff. And get your friends around you to wear them as well. And here's one thing I did. We were in Texas, and we're there with our new friends, Sean Morsi and AJ Mara from More Synergy and More Financial. And if you guys haven't heard of them, they're amazing. They're a lender here out of California. And Sean was wearing a wristband, and he was talking, and he said the word can't. And I reached across there. He didn't know what I was doing. He saw my hand coming across him. He was like, "Whoa!" That got to his wrist, and I snapped it so hard that it snapped and it broke and it shot across the table at one of their the people that works for them across the street or across the table. I'm sorry. And but and Pete will tell you the same thing. That's why he's glad that we don't do the radio show in person anymore. We have all our sound equipment at home and we just Skype into the station. Because I would snap his wristband like relentlessly because he would say those words. And again, we're practicing what we preach. Okay, we're human too. We have those same things that are ingrained in your mind as you grow and you're growing up and your parents and everything around you. Okay, so it's about changing those habits. And you don't just stop doing the negative things. Okay, you have to replace them with something else, something positive. So that's part of it. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful for you guys. And when you go make something happen.com and get your wristbands, take a picture of it, put it on my wall. Just let me know you got it. Tag me in it. I mean, that is the most awesome thing, and then I can hold you accountable. All right, next comment. Are you ever going to make some time ever for us bird dogs to hear you make some cold calls? Well, that's a very good question, and thank you for putting me on the spot. When you have a lead and you're calling on it, here's what we'll do. I need to hear you guys and what you're doing. Okay. And I'll be happy to get on a call with you as well. It's just you got to think about it. I have so many that I can't coordinate. Oh, doggone it. See what you did? There, snap my own wristband. It is a challenge to coordinate calls around all of your guys' schedules. Okay, my time is more valuable than that. I'm not gonna be sitting here waiting around to when your schedule works to get with me. Okay, I do this full time. I know most of you guys have jobs, you have schedules, you have this and that and the other thing, and it's just very challenging for me to work around the schedule of 30 other people. So yes, so I will do it. I will do it. And when you're making a call, uh, that's another reason why I say hit me up on Facebook. That's the easiest way to communicate with me. Tell me, hey, I'm going to make a call. Could you listen in? And I'll be happy to do that. Okay, I'll do that for you. Um, and then I'll be on there. I'll listen in. I'll give you some constructive criticism. And if you need to, then you know that you can always bring me into that call if something's not going the right way. Okay. All right. Yes, I know that, Regina, but you know that this is not Pete. Okay, here's the reason. Okay, so yes, on the GoToWebinar thing, it says Pete Asmus, right? Well, we have an account, and it costs a significant amount of money on a monthly basis to have a GoToWebinar account. And it's not huge or anything, but I mean, it's like $250 a month that it costs us to have this account. So we're not going to have two accounts just so each of us can have our name on it. So when we created it, we created it under Pete's email, and that's why it says Pete Asmus on there. But all of you know that, of course, it's me talking, not Pete. And you can see the guy in the picture that actually has hair. And uh, yeah. Anyway, I won't. Yeah, I was gonna go down a rabbit hole there, but I won't. NFL not for long. That's right. Reading. Michael is reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. Very good. Yes, I agree. That is a great book. To hear you on the phone building rapport. Understood. No problem. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. I won't be lame for too long. You're not. You are not lame. You are awesome. All right. Next question. I was once lost, but now I am found. Awesome stuff, man. Thank you. That is a great comment. Thank you very much. And we'll continue. I know I've already, oh my goodness, I know I've already kept you guys for way longer than I said I was going to. So I apologize about that, but apparently you guys are enjoying this. So I thank you. Instead of free for all Friday, how about calling all birds Saturday mornings? Well, if you don't ask, you don't get, right? Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. All right. There's only so much you can do for free, and uh, let's see. I got to do a recording, but you know what? I just don't have. I don't have adequate recording devices. I mean, I have FlowRoot and everything else, but I just got to make the time to set that up right. Well, I don't know if we could, but we'll see. Maybe we could. All right. So, excuse me one second while I take a drink again. I want to share with you guys one last thing before I go, because I know we've been on here for a while. There's a lot of things, a lot of challenges that you guys will run into, that you guys will with your jobs and a lot of different things that get in the way. I don't want you to think that this is a get rich quick scheme. Okay, regardless of what the infomercials tell you, regardless of what anything tells you, regardless of whatever. Okay, this takes work, and this takes time, and I don't want to hear you guys complaining in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 weeks because you're not getting the results that you want. Okay, I've been at this for years. The most successful people have been at this for years. It's those that persevere and stick it out and believe and fight that urge of disbelief and believe that this is it. This is what you're going to do. This is your destiny. I mean, I know this is one specific strategy, but we're talking about real estate investing in general. Okay? You got to start somewhere before you get anywhere. This is real estate investing in general is what I'm talking about. So you have to have that belief, that unadulterated belief that this is how you're going to make your mark in the world. This is where you're going to go. This is how you're going to provide for your family. This is how you're going to quit your job. Start believing that. One of the things that I said last week was when somebody asks you what you do or whatever, because you're going to be going to networking events, right? You got to get out there. This is where Vria and Ivan kind of split, because I love virtual real estate investing, but I also believe in the power of networking. And I mean, I can tell you story after story after story after story of successes and proofs of concept that works. Okay, we have Coast to Coast RIA. That's why we created it. We're in 16 states. We have 34 clubs. We encourage people to go to other RIA groups too, and we go to other RIA groups when we have time as well. Okay, just so we can practice what we preach. I went to another RIA group meeting. The first time that I did that, and I broke off and I went to somebody else's meeting, I pulled $90,000 out of that night. How did I do that? Because I spoke up. I went there dressed well. I contributed to the group, told people what I did, and I have 5 people come up to me afterwards and ask me questions and how do I get involved and this and that. And one of them just so happened to have $90,000 that she wanted to invest, and that was all the money I needed to do a deal. Okay, and that included the acquisitions, rehab, holding costs, everything, 100%, all cash. Now it's not, $90,000 isn't a lot of money when you consider, the deals that we do here in California. But the point is, you got to get out there and you got to network. You got to get outside of your comfort zone. You got to tell people, I am a real estate investor, and I also drive a truck, and I also work in a warehouse, and I also am a administrative assistant, whatever it is. But you have to start embodying who you want to become now. Okay, for whatever that's worth. Okay, and you guys have to have a depth of vision. What does that mean? A lot of people can't see past their hand in front of them. I use that um, example earlier. But ask yourself this, and I'm going to take you this, and this is the one thing I don't like about not being able to really engage with people. This is why I like being in front of a group, in front of a room better, because I can get feedback from people, and we feed off of that feedback. So I appreciate the comments. I really, really do. But I'm gonna tell you guys um, something here, and I'll leave you with this. Okay. When we talk about depth of vision, you have to be able to see where you're going, well beyond where you're going. And don't be limited by your past experiences. Okay, if I were to show you an acorn and ask you, what do you see? Most people would say, I see a seed, I see a fruit. I know it's silly, right? But I know that because I asked this question when we go to groups. I asked this question when we were in Texas. That's what they see. People that have a little bit deeper depth of vision will say, well, I see a tree, right? Because that's where the seed came from. That's where the acorn came from, which is a seed. Now, you start talking, a person with a little bit more depth of vision will say, I see a forest. But the person with true depth of vision sees a city, because the wood from that forest was built or was used to build that city, right? So it's all about depth of vision. There's you'll see so many different things when you look at just what's in front of you, what's directly in front of you. You have to be able to see way past that. And I'll tell you this also. When your attitude is right, the facts don't count. What do I mean by that? It doesn't matter where you are at right now. Now, the facts might be that you're living paycheck to paycheck. The facts might be that you have bill collectors calling you. The facts might be that I don't know. Maybe you haven't your car payments are behind, or whatever it is, you're desperate. When your attitude is right, the facts don't count. First and foremost, because whatever you think the facts are by and large, they're just other people's opinions. Okay, let me give you guys an example, and I'll leave you with this. I promise. I know some of you have already dropped off because I've kept you so long. But here's an example. After the Second World War, there was a whole bunch of ships in the world, right? Because there was a war, and the war was over. There were ships everywhere, and none of them were being used because the war had ended. So all this massive construction that was created because of the needs of the war, which created the largest excess glut of ships in history. You couldn't do anything with them. You couldn't give them away, just because they would just cost more money to get rid of them. So they were just, basically just good for scrap metal, right? It was just a disaster. So ships were blocking up the ports, they were blocking up harbors, they were everywhere. And you were stuck with the ships if you were the ship owner. Just having them was a disaster because it's going to cost you money to do anything with them. And you were losing money hand over fist, and everybody knew that was a fact. That was the reality. It was horrible to have a ship. It was a disaster to have a ship. You couldn't do anything with ships. And anybody that was involved in the shipping industry, they were basically finished. There was one guy though. His name was Aristotle Onassis, and you guys can look him up. And he understood what most people think are facts are nothing but opinions in many cases. And so he was at a coffee shop one day, and on a napkin, he did some mathematical calculations. And he said the reason there's a glut of ships is because of the war, and shipping has ceased. Nobody was shipping things anymore because of the war, because you'd get torpedoed, right? So no one was shipping anymore. It was a world war, so this affected everybody, everywhere. And he said if shipping goes back to the levels they were before the war, there are currently not enough ships right now that are seaworthy. And Onassis came up with a simple conclusion. Because the world had become internationalized, okay, you guys got to realize that before this war happened, the world wasn't connected. Okay, everybody was in their own little nucleus, in their own little islands. Okay, but because of the war, the world had become internationalized. Americans were eating pizza, which they'd never eaten before. Now they were, GIs were coming home from Italy and all different parts of the world talking about pizza, and they wanted Italian products. Germans wanted American products. Japanese needed products because of the war. So the world became internationalized. Everybody wanted other people's products from around the world. So NASA said because of the war, shipping will increase faster than ever. Then Onassis went out and he bought every ship that he could. And within 3 years, Onassis was the richest man in the world based on shipping because he understood the difference between facts and opinions. And part of that has to do with your level of belief and what you believe in and how much you believe it for yourselves. Okay, so regardless of where you find yourself now, in the situation that you're in now, and how desperate you might be in now, just know that you will create your future. You will create your reality. As long as you believe in that and you focus on what your belief is and what the future is and what the target is and what the goal is, more so than you focus on your current set of circumstances and what other people and yourself might perceive as reality. All right. And again, thank you for staying with me all this while. I hope you found this useful and a benefit to you and edifying and educational. And if you did, please go out there on Facebook, social media, and all those different things and say something nice. Encourage people to join. the group, encourage people to ask me questions, to say just spread the love. All right, if this was a benefit to you guys, because obviously this is a huge investment of my own time, and it's a huge investment of your time, and I appreciate and value that as well. But just go out there and let people know. All right. And there will be a recording of both the audio and the video if you want to share it with other people. Because again, you guys become the average of the 5 people that you most closely associate yourselves with. So if you're working on improving yourselves and bettering your future and bettering your life, why not get other people involved and help them become more successful as well? Thanks for being here. Bird Dog to Intern call with Ivan Oberon. Again, it's Thursday. We're almost through the whole week. Congratulations for making it this far, and we'll see you next week. All right, guys. Any last minute questions? I will take them. If not, I'm going to shut this thing down in 15 seconds. Group hug? Yeah, I'm down for a group hug. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.